are again. I'm trying to go monotone tonight in honor of my my podcast mentor, Brian Koppelman, who was a guest on here, the writer of Rounders. I'm sure our guest tonight knows who I'm talking about, but he always says, "Hey, welcome to the moment. This is Brian," and then he goes into his whole thing. So that was my terrible way of introing our awesome guest tonight, the great Sal. And Sal, let me, I need to ask you first, right off the bat, is it Vulcano?
It's Vulcano.
Volcano. See,
Yeah,
I'm terrible at that. I was going to call you Sal Vulcano. How did you get that a lot?
Yes. I get all three versions of what you just said. It's no big deal. I mean, I think it's really like, you could probably say it anyway, but the way my family says it is Vulcano.
Okay, that's that great, Staten Island, right?
Yes.
So Staten Island, anyone that doesn't know Sal, which I think wherever you go now, man, everybody knows what you're doing. You've recently, over the last 3 or 4 years, really struck it big with the show Impractical Jokers. That is amazing. If anyone hasn't seen it, that's listening or watching this, check it out. It's awesome. But you're I don't know how to describe what your career path would be. How would you define yourself as a comedian, actor, sketch artist, writer? What would you like? Could you put yourself into one category?
It's funny because when I try to tell people too, I have the same exact issue. I say comedian because I think it encompasses almost every part of what I do versus like writer wouldn't encompass everything that I do. And saying comedian doesn't necessarily mean stand-up comedian. That's not the way people necessarily take it these days. So, I mean, I guess because mostly everything I do is geared toward comedy. So I do a little bit of stand-up, I do a little bit of sketch, do some improv. The show's a comedy. I write comedy. So I just say comedian and just hope people get it.
If they don't, just tell them, go to YouTube, buddy. Check me out. That's all. That's the only way you can really describe what you do. You started a group called the Tenderloins with your buddies back in the day. And can you like just tell us how did all that stuff start? Were you guys high school friends? Is that right?
Yeah, we went to high school from 90 to 94. So we were all.
You look good, man.
Thanks.
You look like a young 27-year-old.
You really think so?
Yeah, you look great. Maybe it's because you're so funny and you guys act so young and vibrant.
You're a great politician. You guys act so friggin' young. No, but yeah. So we met in freshman year in 1990, which is 25 years ago now, and we weren't like the four bestest friends then. We all were friends. We had a high school that I think we would be considered relatively small, maybe 300 people in our class. And then, as the years went along, we all did improv in our high school. And then that was really it. We were buddies, and then we all went to separate colleges, and we all somehow pursued writing, stand-up, some type of comedy through college. When we all came back from college, we kind of we're like, oh, you're still doing it? You're still doing it? Why don't we get together? And we would get together in Joe Gatto. It's Brian, who we call Q, James, who we call Murr, and Joe Gatto. So we're like, let's get together. Actually, Brian at this point wasn't doing it with us. It was another one of our friends, Mike. And we would meet at Joe's mom's house in her basement 3 times a week. From I don't even know, 6 to 9, and just rehearse and just practice improv at that point. And then we rehearsed for 6 months before ever even doing it in front of anyone. 3 nights a week for 6 months, and then we finally put up our first show ever, March 4th, 2000. And we were an improv troupe, and so that was like that kind of thing where, I don't know if you've ever heard, you actually kind of know comedy and stuff. Or those types of, but we studied and we hung out at that theater a lot, and and then we just started doing improv. We did that for years, and then we were like, why don't we start doing some live sketches as well before the show, before the improv? So we started doing that, and then we kind of just hit a wall in 2004, stopped, and then we took a year off, and then I was like, we should start making these videos because there's this new thing called YouTube YouTube and my we were like instead we started filming videos with and then we put them up, and that's when like someone independently but simultaneously at YouTube and MySpace started putting our videos on the homepages, and it just got like they started to get millions of views, and then at the exact same time, someone told us about this contest that was online that NBC was hosting for sketch. Old one that we had to that, and what they would do is they would say these are the topics. They wanted you to make a new video for the contest every week. So they'd be like, okay, make an instructional video, make a fake commercial, make this, and then everyone would submit it, and then you could win $1,000 if the online community voted that yours was the best one. And what NBC was doing was it was I think a cheap, very easy way to find talent. And they were going to have this show called It's Your Show, where they picked the 5 best sketch comedy troupes, and they battled each other on network TV. I think it was on NBC, and Carson Daly was the host, and then the winner would win $100,000. So we submitted this old video, and we won the first one, and it was $1,000, and we didn't even make it; we just had it, and we're like, oh, that'll kind of fit that topic. So we sent it in, and we won $1,000. We were really like poor, so that was like, oh my god, like we could win $1,000 every single week. So while we were making these videos, we kept winning and winning and winning. I think we won 11 weeks, and so we won $11,000. And then at the same time, all these videos we were making so many that we were able to keep on uploading them to YouTube. And so those people were like, wow, these guys are putting up a new video every week. It was like 2 different things, but they kept putting the videos up. So the same videos that were winning us the money were getting us millions of views and stuff like that. And then NBC made the show. They made a pilot called It's Your Show, and we got picked to be one of the 5 finalists of the sketch comedy troupes to be in it. And they did it in front of a studio audience, and Carson Daly was the host, and we won. So we won $100,000, which at that time you could have told me I just won $1 billion. Like, we couldn't believe it. I was living in this little basement studio apartment, and I was bartending at the time, and so the show never aired. It
really never aired, but guys still got paid though, right?
Yeah. So like they have to do that. That's a kind of a rule. So they had to pay us, which is great, but they decided not to go forward with the show. But then some of the producers from that show said, hey, you guys develop something together. So they took to their agent who took us on, and then we developed a good version of like a Sunny in Philadelphia. It was like the 4 of us on Staten Island. It was like a single camera sitcom show, and like we lived on Staten Island. We all played like these hyper versions of ourselves, and we made a pilot for Spike. And I don't know if I lost you because you froze up.
I
got
you
you
for a second, man, but now I think we got you. Don't worry, it'll
okay.
work itself out.
Yeah,
you're at the part where you said you made a pilot for Spike.
Yeah, and then and that didn't get picked up.
What was that like? The Impractical Jokers? Was that the hidden camera stuff?
No. This was like it was like a version of like, let's say like something like Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, so like a legit like sitcom.
Yeah, it was a scripted single camera sitcom where we played versions of ourselves. We lived on Staten Island, and it was. When I say like Sunny, that's a frame of reference, but we were it's nowhere even in the stratosphere of as good as Sunny. And they passed on it. And then we had another improv show we pitched to A&E, and we made the pilot, and it didn't get picked up. And then we sold a few more, and we made pilots, they didn't get picked up. And then we had a good streak with actually getting pilots. Like usually we'll go in with a pretty good idea, and the 4 of us, you pitch these network folks in a room, but the 4 of us are like, together it's like easy for us, like there's like no pressure because we're just like we go in there, we joke around. There's usually a good energy if the idea is good, So then finally we got lucky and they picked up Impractical Jokers, and we shot a pilot, and then they liked it and they ordered 8 episodes, and we were like, whoa. And then we made the first 4. It didn't start airing yet, and when they saw the first 4, they ordered 8 more, and we were like, what is happening? And now, at the end of the season, we'll have over 100.
Man, and so that's I was asking you. I saw you a couple weeks ago. We were lucky enough to play golf together out at
That
Derek
was so much
Jeter's
fun.
charity golf event. That's how I got connected with you, and you and Joe. You guys, I mean, you guys are awesome dudes. I knew that from the jump. But I was asking you about that. I was asking Joe about this. You guys, so isn't like 100 like the number that you're gonna hopefully hit syndication?
I mean, I don't know like too much about like the business. I understand like 100 is a good benchmark for people to be able to sell it and then syndicate it. I mean, that would be amazing. It hasn't happened yet, but I sure hope it happens.
Yeah, it will, man. You guys are gonna keep going. Do you have any like when do you run out of ideas with all this stuff? And how many writers do you have? Or how many staff like people are there for you? Because if it's just you four coming up with all these unbelievable ideas, then I mean, obviously you guys are great at what you do, but do you have like a supporting cast around you that we don't see on camera?
Yeah, we have an amazing crew and staff. So, especially now, like after all these years, you kind of get people that have stayed with you, and then you keep the good ones and the good ones, and then you kind of just get stronger as a unit. But when we first started, we had no one at all. So the first full season was just the four of us. So we wrote every idea, we wrote every joke, we in the first season, like the show was so small that we didn't even have an office. We'd go in and sit like in like the common area of the office of the production company, and we'd all sit on like a couch and like just literally sit on the couch with our laptops on our laps trying to write and stuff like that. And then we would even like get on the phone and try and call for locations ourselves. Like we didn't really know how many roles there were in the staff, so we were filling like all the roles. And we edit it, we help edit it, and from soup to nuts really. And then like the next season, we had a little bit more of a budget, and we were on for a while, so we had more people to help us. And then we were like, holy shit, because now our staff is like, we have a whole floor of a building. Everyone has their own offices and stuff like that. But like it kept like it really took time to get there. And we have like 3 or 4 people that work on locations now. We have a couple of other executive executive producers. We have a director. We have art. We have a prop guy. We have all these things now. And now we have a writing team. In season 2, we took on 2 writers, and we did all of season 2 with just the 4 of us and 2 writers. And then we started touring and doing these live shows. So we would do like 60 to 70 dates a year, and we'd have to fly out. So then we started having like no time to write everything ourselves. Now we have like I think 4 or 5 great writers that like we work with now, and they're really strong. I mean, that's the challenge too. After the first season, we did 17 episodes, and I like looked at the guys when it was over, and I said, because in the beginning they used to make us put even more bits in the episodes, so there was like 5 an episode, and it would go like really fast. And we would like make the case that we should have 3, so we could actually have moments with people where we're talking. We don't have to cut out right away, so it's not just joke after joke. Like you get to feel the moment a little bit. So we have that now. But I told the guys after the first season, like, how are we gonna think of anything else? and you just do. I don't know. We lock ourselves in a room. Our writers are in the room all day long. And what they'll do is they'll come up with, like, at this point, there's like a Bible for the show because they've been around so long. They know what we've done, what we're looking for, where we were, how we've evolved. And so they know the sensibility of the show. And then, like, at the end of every week, they'll give us a pitch packet of all their ideas for that week. And then the guys and I will look through it and say, yes, no, or this is good, but change it to this. And then they make those tweaks. And then they'll even like sometimes like make a case for something that we said no for if they feel strongly about it. And we'll go back and forth like that. And then we'll take the ones that we all like, and then we send those to the network. And the same process happens with the network essentially.
Man, is that it sounds like Saturday Night Live, and you guys are like Lorne Michaels, or maybe the network is Lorne Michaels. I've seen people talk about how their whole process, where all the writers come together and they have like a table read and they pitch all their stuff to Lorne, and they're just praying that it gets on. Is that what these guys are doing, and these writers are coming up with stuff, and then you guys just crush their dreams right there and just throw it away.
Well, not really, because
Or the network crushes your dreams when you have some ones that you love and they just don't let you do them.
well, yeah, the network, our relationship with that network has only strengthened over the years. When we first started, we didn't really have any. We had to prove ourselves, I feel like, and then also people at the network changed over, and there was just a little bit more. The newer people were a little bit more open to letting us do our thing, and I think that paid off. And so now the trust is there. Way more than it was able to be in the beginning. So if we call them and say we really
I lost you for a second.
is that oh, all right. Where'd you lose me?
I got you.
Okay.
10 seconds ago. You were something about the writers, and
Okay.
now they trust you, but if you call something over, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, our writers are like really our friend. Really, our whole crew and staff are really like friends. And what I mean is, like, some of them are legitimate friends. Like, a lot of people see that the four of us are friends, but what they don't know is, like, a couple of my cameramen, like all of my writers and everything, were friends of ours as well that were able to work on the show now too. And then we've been together with the other crew for 4 years now, so it's like family. You know what I mean? So really, I don't know if this is the right way to be an executive producer, but I consider everyone a friend first, which makes it difficult sometimes. But it is really great. It's just a great situation, really.
Well, I think it would have to be with how. So, like, I think what makes your guys' show, or what puts it over the top, there's been hidden camera shows and things in the past, but they've always been corny and just stupid, and not funny. But you guys, when you're doing them, it's like you guys seem like you're having such a good time. I'm like, either these guys are legit love what they're doing, or they're the greatest actors on the planet. Because when you guys are watching, so if people don't know the premise of the show, I guess part of one of you guys goes out and there's hidden cameras everywhere, and three of you stand back with a mic and you tell you tell people what to say, what to do, and just really embarrassing things. Basically, you guys have to carry them out, and you get punished if you lose or whatever. I'll let you go into it and explain more of exactly how it works. But when you guys sit there and watch on monitors as you're telling them what to say, and it's like you guys are losing your minds coming up with stuff to tell them to do, and how you're laughing and like smacking each other. And I'm thinking, like, these guys are, first off, I think it's fun. I think what puts you guys over the top or makes you guys that much better is we see you guys having fun, and it's like contagious, You're a comedian, like laughter is contagious, and it's fun to watch, and it makes you feel good watching it. And then obviously you guys are coming up with genius bits and genius little one-liners that are putting you guys in the most awkward situations ever. So that's what I think we can kind of like relate to. Like, yeah, these guys look like some guys you want to hang out with, and as you guys are making gold on there.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, like, I actually consider the hidden camera element of the show to be secondary. Like, a lot of people, they pigeonhole us as a hidden camera show or a reality show. Reality in the sense that we do play ourselves, but it's not about our real personal lives or anything. So I don't consider it reality. Basically, it's unscripted, quote unquote. And we get called that too. But for me, I just think it's a show about friends hanging out. I really do. When we first made it, we said we want to make sure our personalities come through. We want people to have favorites. We want there to be a competition element, like where we're really competing. Like, we really want to go out there. Like, we said we have to get in a mind frame before we do these things where I want to beat you guys. I do not want to lose. And that has to be like a through line of it. And then all just while really being ourselves. So the show is written like, a lot of people ask us, well, if you're like just making the stuff up, why do you have writers? Well, first of all, we have to think of the idea on the whole. And then we talk out the merits of the location or the idea, and if it will play out good for television, and if it'll reach the potential. Because sometimes you have it's the funniest thing and it's the greatest idea, but we've come to miserably. So it goes through this whole vetting process with the writers, and it's basically a creative process. And then if I know what we're doing, I'll go home and the writers go and I'll write lines, situations, ideas for me to tell the other guys when we're filming. I won't show them, but I'll keep them. So I have my own lines and stuff prepared. And then on top of that, we are very in the moment, and so we'll improvise. Like, some days we'll go in, we won't even use one line. It's so happening right there. And then the stuff you wrote ahead of time, as a surprise or to kickstart it. So it's a mixture of both, But we said that if we're having fun, hopefully it translates to what you just said. And we also said that when we stop having fun, we'll probably stop doing the show. And, we go to work every day. And I'm guilty of it the most because I never even knew I would react like that. I mean, I laugh a lot in real life and everything. I don't normally fall when I laugh in real life, but I fall all the time when I'm laughing on the show. And but it's real. It's just that the situation, new levels of laughter. Like, I don't find myself being in those situations in my regular life. So like, sometimes I'm in such like disbelief of what's happening. I just lose control of my faculties. You know what I mean?
It comes across, man. I think that's why it's fun to watch you, especially like when you get punished and you guys are having you do. So this morning, I always show I've said on here before, I show my kids, I have a 4 and a 2-year-old, and I show them like YouTube clips of usually like music videos, whatever. We watch clips, Bruce Lee clips. I show them like the Rocky IV montage we were watching the other day when he's training, just inspirational stuff. And this morning, I was showing her some of your guys' clips from YouTube, and we were watching the episode where you got punished and you had to go play bingo in the huge room with all these diehard bingo old just mean people, and they're making you stand up and call bingo like every couple minutes. And you like how the look on your face, like I said, it has to be genuine and real or you're just Daniel Day-Lewis, as a great actor. You're sitting there losing your mind like, oh no, and you're talking to yourself, and the lady next to you is asking you if you're all right. And then you have to keep yelling bingo, and then you end up getting escorted out by the cops. But my 4-year-old daughter, that's what's crazy about the show too. Like, she loved it. She kept saying, "Dad, I want to see more. I want to see more Sal. Show me Sal, Dad." So we were trying to go through and find clips where you were getting punished and watch them.
There's many.
Yeah, and so that's what comes across on the camera. I think is that just like, oh my God, I can't believe I got to stand up and do that and say bingo again with all these old crazy bingo people are going to kill me. And is that your genuine your reaction, or I think it's definitely genuine, but do you have to amp it up a little bit for the show?
Not much. I mean, because it really just comes across. I don't. So here's the thing. So like, this is another thing that we nuances of the show. If I'm a comedian and I do some acting and stuff, and if I was hired by a hidden camera show, like how they did Punk'd, where people are acting, trying to trick other people, and they put them in tense situations. If I was doing that and that was supposed to be my job, I could probably get in the headspace where I walked out there and I was the guy yelling bingo to prank everyone there. And I might be nervous inside, but I would conceal it and I'd be able to act through it and not show that. But we said early on, we're not comedians. Even though we are comedians, we're not going to be comedians in the show like that. Just ourselves. And we have to react the way we would if it wasn't a show. We want the relatability. We want people to be like, oh my God, imagine if we did that. Or we want people to see what we do and then try to do it and stuff like that. So we said we should really react honestly and not react,
like you think you should react?
Yeah, I think that would be the death of it. So, with the bingo, that came from a real place. My dad's mom, my grandma Rose, was like the mayor. She was like the bingo like lady,
Yeah, you mentioned that. You said my grandma was the bingo legend.
Oh, I said that. Yeah,
on the episode, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had seen bingo, and like it's no nonsense. nonsense. It's no nonsense. And they used to let them smoke, and there would be just plumes, like big clouds of smoke, and everybody is just like hyper focused on the numbers, and everybody is like, it's just a real tense. You would think it wouldn't be tense. It's like supposed to be like relaxation for seniors or something, but it's super tense. And I seen my grandma get into like, my grandma didn't like take no nonsense from anyone, and I would see her get like into like little quarrels and arguments with people all the time. And she'd be like, they'd get mad at each other. And so from the beginning when we made the show, we're like, that would be an amazing one. And it took 4 years. That is actually legally tied into like state gambling laws, so they don't want you to mess with it. So we had to get approval. It was like a very delicate thing that we weren't going to affect the outcome of the game or anyone else's game. So it was like, it took a long time. When we got that one, we were like, oh, this is amazing. Although they didn't tell me, I don't believe. I knew about it from the earlier seasons, but then that's what'll happen. Like, it'll go away, but what you didn't realize is that they're already working on it for you. And then you step out and you're like, oh God, I forgot all about this one.
Now, when you, so you show like, just to get like some of like I'm sure some of the boring stuff that it just makes it a pain. How do you get through showing all those people on camera? Do all of them have to sign video releases to show their face after the fact? After you finally, somebody's got to come back, a producer, and tell them like, hey, we just filmed a show?
Yeah, that's my least favorite part. Like, unless if they're blurred, they said no, or we couldn't get it, or we didn't, But for the most part, yeah, they have to go up to them and say, "Excuse me," and you're on this show, and this is what it's about, and this is, And for the most part, I'd say 8 out of 10 people are like, "No way, that's funny. I'll sign." One out of 10 is like, I'm sorry, I just don't want to be on television. It sounds funny, but it's not for me, or I'm in a rush. And then like one person is like, F you guys, you know what I mean? But yeah, and sometimes if a bit went really well and the person was like a character or really like personable or eccentric, and we know it's really funny, and we're like, this is gold, we have to get. A lot of times the people who do that, who are responsible for getting the signatures, they'll let us know, and then we'll go and appeal to them and say, hey, it was so much fun. My name is Sal. This is my friends, and that's the part I hate the most because it makes me really uncomfortable. But sometimes we'll go in even ourselves and say, please, be on the show.
I know there's all kind of crazy rules on who you can show and everything. So when I first started watching that, I remember thinking that, because I know like on those terrible FM radio shows that which are basically gone by the wayside now with podcasting and Sirius and all that. But when they would have these prank phone calls where they would call someone and do whatever, say, I don't know, just everyone knows those bits where you would call and fake things. Those are all set up. I don't know when they changed the law or whatever, but I know they're set up because you can't have someone on the radio without letting them know first they're on the radio. And so there's all these rules. We had a high school radio station. My buddy was like the morning DJ, and he would do all these calls. He would do the same thing, and I know he would love to make them real, but he's not. He was calling me or his other buddy, and it was putting on the air, but we knew like it was all fake because I can't call you right now on a live radio broadcast and put you on the air without you knowing. So, like, do you guys have a lot of red tape you have to fight through for all that?
There's actually laws for hidden camera, and it's illegal in most states, actually.
For any hidden camera? Like after the fact, getting them to sign off on?
Yeah, I think it's like a consent. It's something consent law. So there's only like maybe I'm going to say one. And mind you, in those states, like in New York, which is legal, you can't like put a hidden camera inside like a changing room or a restroom or anything like that. But you can have it like in the public, So that's really it. I mean, and then above that, we are responsible for getting them to sign off on it. But yeah, I knew that about those radio calls too, because Murray used to do that. That was one of his like jobs when we were like younger. He was one of the people that was like an actor for those prank phone calls.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
people still believe them, though. Like, people still in 2015 believe that those things are real.
Like the things like on the radio you can't. And we used to like make fun of Mur so bad because like we'd all like be hanging out, and then he'd be like, "I have to step home," and it'd be like a fake prank radio, and we'd be hanging out, and we'd hear him in the corner be like, "There's a hippopotamus in my garage." So corny. And we just used to relentlessly make fun of him for it. Oh man,
it is funny the stuff that some of the corny stuff that people still get into. Whatever you like, comedy's comedy, I guess.
Yeah.
But I will just to vouch for you guys, which obviously you don't need me to. But I saw you guys out there when we were playing golf. You and Joe from the jump, man. You guys come out there first tee box, and it was like just your guys' like energy and how you like to have fun. It was like you were on camera the whole time. How like if you didn't know better, because you guys just are messing with each other and making fun of each other and like your golf swings and just you guys are just hilarious. Your banter back and forth. So I know it's a safe bet that it's all genuine and it's all real on how you guys are on camera. So I've seen it in real life, and you guys are like that all the time. So it was fun to see though, man. How you guys actually get along so well. Did the show change you guys' relationship at all? Like, is there any does it get weird or hard, like competitive ever? If I don't know, like I'm not trying to cause a riff or anything, but does that changes like dynamics of groups? I know when guys get famous and you guys got cash coming in and you're being creative all at the same time. Have you guys ever had any kind of inklings of any weirdness?
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, like we don't consider ourselves famous. I don't. I mean, like it feels like we're recognized. But like we're on like I always make the joke that we're on channel 1 million, and and people do know us. But I feel like movie stars are famous. So like, but I think that we have really really strong foundation. And since we were working together creatively for like before the show started for like I guess 12 years, we kind of like. We're so close. I think the extreme scheduling of the show, and the touring, which has together there sometimes like some. I mean, and personally, I mean, I don't see how you can't. Because there's 4 of us, there's just like 100 decisions to be made a day. We're with each other 24/7, and honestly, I think for the amount that we're with each other, we do a really good job of give and take and compromise, and something always comes up. But it's like if we weren't good at it, I think it would have imploded a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, like we do get into fights and stuff, but really like we're very protective of each other too, because it's our product at the end of the day. It's our thing that we created, and there's a lot of different like between just the public and the network and just anything that we do, like we make sure to have each other's backs and stuff like that. So I honestly always think about like what it would be like to just be doing it alone. Like there's so many other really successful people that have shows like with their name in the title, and it's just them. And like I wouldn't want to tour really without these guys. I mean, I would probably be making 4 times more money, but there's something to be said for being with the guys every day. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a bonus, and also like we kind of lighten each other's the burden a little bit off each other, and so. As much as we're on the road, I'm always like, it always does feel like if we want it to be, it always does feel like a little mini vacation. Like you said, that's the way we are. We joke around all the time. And after we did a bunch of scripted shows, we were like, we're not really nailing this. What could we do where we're just ourselves? And that was part of the impetus of that was part of like how we came up with this idea where, well, if we could just showcase our friendship because people think we're really funny together and we know each other well, then that'll be great. And we don't act on the show. It just is exactly that. But on the flip side of that, I hope it's not that constantly. Like I don't want anyone to feel like either like that we're on all the time. I just think that we're so together that we have this shorthand where, and then coming into that tournament when we met you guys too, you guys were so nice, you and your brother and stuff. But we were a little worried because like we don't really golf. and we didn't want to ruin anyone's time. Like when we got invited, we thought it might be a little bit more serious. We didn't know it would be a little more relaxed. But even so, I don't want to, I don't want to join you guys on the and then hold you up and you guys are so nice, but like you don't know who you're going to be paired up with, and if they thought it was annoying, then I'm a 4-5 hour nuisance. You know what I mean? So when we came and saw you guys, you just put it right out there. We're like, hey, we suck. Like, are you sure you want to play with us and stuff? We ended up having a blast that day, man.
Oh, it was fun, man. I think Joe hit maybe 3 shots and we stopped after like 15 holes, but I think he might have taken 3 swings, maybe 2 putts and 1 full swing. He's like, I don't play golf. No, I don't. And he literally rode in the cart and just was throwing dimes out there of just comedy. He was so funny, man. It was great. And we kept asking, like, come on, you sure you don't want to hit? He's like, no, I'm good. No, you kidding me? No, I don't want to hit. Yeah. And then the one hole, though, remember, if you got a hole in one, you want to, was it a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or Ferrari? Yeah. He teed off on that one.
Yeah, we had a good time. I mean, the all 2 days I was paired up with Joe, and he was just basically my chauffeur. And then, I scrapped through as best I could. I was miserable doing it too. I mean, miserable in the best possible way. I just mean like I was not good. It was great. I had this story of something that happened. I think it was the first day. I was golfing. We were golfing. Marcus Awesome, but it wasn't as Marcus Allen was more of like I watched him growing up, and so he was more like an authority figure when we were golfing. Yeah. Like he was so nice, and we joked around all day, but it was more just like almost like he was dad, and everyone was like, "All right, are you finished, Marcus?" You know what I mean? But then like we felt more like it's the same age, and it felt more just like so it was like a little different tone, but it was still a lot of fun. But I had this story from the first day. So you remember at hole 6, they had like a DJ and a bar set up and everything like that, and people were hanging out and stuff.
Yeah. So
I just saw that this Brian Baumgartner was on your podcast.
Yep.
I watched a big chunk of it, and I don't know if you, because that was before the event. So yeah. I guess you know him.
Yeah, I met him. I got to go visit the set of The Office years ago, shortly after, like a month after we won the Super Bowl. So I'm taking up on all the free goodies I can get, and that was my favorite show at the time. So yes. Yeah, that's when I met him a few times before, but yeah.
Yeah, and I love The Office. I've seen every single episode. I liked it since I love the British one, all that jazz. I've been to the set, but my own. I got to film something. I was writing for a show back in like 2007. I got to write and film something with Rainn Wilson when they were a few years in. That was like a highlight. But anyway, so he was in this tournament. Brian was in the tournament, right?
Yep.
And we're at hole 6. It was the end of the day. We had finished golfing, so we were just hanging out there drinking. And so the music was like blasting, right? And we're all hanging out, and I'm meeting all different people and and having little mini conversations and stuff. And I'm with Joe, and I was probably a few drinks in, I would say, right? And because that day, like someone handed us like a shot of tequila on like the first hole, so 4 hours later, it was a little.
And that hole was, yeah, like you said, there's a little like stage set up on the tee box right next to it with a full go DJ and people, chairs, open bar, everything. So yeah, that hole was set up for that basically.
Yeah, so everyone's kind of like partying. It's kind of where everyone went when they were done golfing. So there's a good 100 people there, whatever it is. The music's blasting, and I was in between conversations, so I was just staying there alone, and I was drinking. And the DJ, good guy, his name's Reg West. He started playing a Biggie Smalls, so I was like singing along, right? Like I knew every word.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like into the song, right? So I'm in the zone. It's beautiful. It's sunny. I'm like, I had such a good day. I'm definitely feeling buzzed. And I'm just standing there just really into the song. And then Joe taps me, right, as I'm singing. And he just kind of taps me and then like says, like gestures to a guy standing next to me. But the music was so loud that when I turned to look at the guy standing next to me, he came right in to say, like, he was right by me. Because you had to like lean in and yell for people to hear you, right?
Yeah.
So when he leaned in and said hello, I turned and I just was like, I put I think I patted him or put my hand out, but I never stopped rapping, right? So I didn't say anything. So I just turned to him and I just was kind of like with my eyes and body language was like, "Oh, hey, so nice to meet you." But I just figured like we're all partying, so I figured maybe and I just was like, I'm like, it was all a dream. I used to read Word Up back in, and I'm like saying that, I'm rapping that in his face because he leaned in to talk, and I'm literally 1 inch from his face, just yelling Biggie at him, right?
Yep.
And at that point, he was too close to my face for me to recognize it was Brian. So I turned him with 2 seconds. I rapped. I patted him on the back, and I turned around. And I kept rapping because I couldn't even hear him. And then 2 seconds later, Joe goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What? I'm just singing." And he goes, I just, tapped him for you to talk to him." I go, "I know, I did. I turned. I said, yeah, I did. I just, I don't know. I just wasn't paying attention." He goes, that was Brian Baumgartner." And he goes, and he just kind of, I don't know if Joe most likely was just fooling around with me, but he just stormed off, like, because you're an asshole. And I was like, "No." He's like, "Yeah." I was like, I had no idea that was him, nor did I know who it was. I just was into the song. I didn't even realize that,
So
like,
had
he might have took it like
did he
I
leave the
just
tee
brushed.
box at this time? Was he gone after that? When you finally realized what had happened?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Apparently, Joe said, I turned to him, I rapped in his face, and then he just looked at me weird and just walked away, like stormed off.
Oh, I love it, man. Did you guys make up, I hope?
Well, no, well, he talked to Joe for a long while, and he expressed how he knew our show and was a fan of it. And so Joe had that nice conversation with him before my idiocy. And I said to Joe, I was like, "I can't believe it." I said, "But when I turned, our faces were so close. He was too close for me to recognize him." And I felt so bad. I think Joe was playing it up, but Joe's like, he stormed off in a huff. So I was like, "Oh my God." And I'm such a big fan of his. I actually know about him. Like, I am a fan. Like, I know he plays poker, and I know he shoots hoops pretty well and stuff like that. I've read articles and stuff. So I was like, "Oh man, I gotta go find this guy." So later that night we had the dinner. You remember that we had to go to like this gala dinner or whatever.
Oh yeah, with Ludacris.
Yes, Ludacris was there, and I got down there a little late, and he had come by our table, spoke to all the other 3 guys, like at length, took photos with them, and then when I got there, he had just left.
Oh my God!
So I didn't even get to like make amends, and I said to Joe, "Was he still mad?" And Joe was like, "No, no, no." But if there's any chance at all that he I doubt it, but I mean that he listens to this part. I just want him to know that I'm a big fan, and I didn't mean anything by it.
Hey, I love it. First, I love that there's no resolution. You guys left town.
Yeah.
You guys left town. He's in L.A. You're out. You go back to New York or whatever, and there's no ending to it. You didn't get to figure it all out, but I'm sure he was never mad. But oh God, that's great, man. I bet I would love to hear him tell this story. Talking about, well, so I'm a big fan of these guys, and all of a sudden this guy just starts rapping Biggie directly into my, like, 3 inches from my mouth, and then just turns around and keeps rapping.
Dude, if you would have seen, like, I was close enough to kiss him, and then like he may very well not have interpreted any of this. He may have said, "Oh yeah, I said hello to Sal on the golf course." I have no idea if he felt the awkwardness from me after I did that. I don't know, but in my head and in Joe's retelling of it, which I think was, maybe just partially I exaggerate. He's like, he stormed off and off.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Joe played it up, but there's no way Brian was actually mad. But I love it, man. I can see how that would have happened. Now, I wish I would have been out there at the time to see it, because that would have been. I would love to see Joe just keep going back at you, letting you know. Actually, I would just love seeing you. I would just love to see you just going straight, flowing with Biggie, and nothing can stop you. Nothing can get in your way. You were just feeling it.
Yeah, man. When I get in there, it's like I'm in a trance. You can't mess with me.
Hey, you're an artist. I respect it. You're making art every day. I respect it, man. You're just respecting another man's art like Biggie.
And I was like, "Oh man, I gotta tell you, like, I felt so horrible." You know what? I had that feeling that you get when you accidentally call someone the wrong name.
Yep. That's why I don't call anybody by name now.
Right. You just kind of like have that sinking feeling, and you feel like mortified. sometimes it's not even really even your fault. Maybe you heard it wrong or who knows what. But I've done that sometimes, and it's just it's not even like when you're like, I'm sorry, what was your name again? It's like when you confidently are like Bill, and he's like, who are you talking to? I'm Mike, and you're like, oh my god, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, man. I'm just messing with you, buddy. And you got punched him a few times in the stomach.
Yeah.
All right, we're good old pals. I did that. That feeling. It brought that feeling back to me. Honestly, now that you just mentioned that, like when I was in college, I think I went back to one of my high school football games, and I was like on the sidelines, and one of my teachers came up to me, and she was like one of my favorite teachers, and I called her by name I think 3 times throughout this whole conversation, and my buddy that I grew up with forever let me know. We walked away from her like, all right, good. I gave her a hug and left. He was like, hey, I forget which teacher it was. He's like, hey, that was Miss Boinger, right? And I was like, yeah, what? No, what do you mean? It was Mrs. Smith, right? It wasn't Smith, but a different name. And I kept calling her another teacher that I had at the time in high school, but it was not her.
Oh.
And after that, I was like, oh no. And I remember I was talking to my buddy, and I'm like, you think she heard? Do you think she even heard me say her name? He's like, you said it like 3 times directly to her. Yes, she definitely knows you called her the wrong name, and you were in her classroom for 4 straight years.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh, how did that happen? I'll just claim I got hit in the head too many times. Is that that's what I got to do now, I guess.
You have an out, right? So I got 2 quick ones. One is where so I used to back in the day. I used to manage and work at a bar, like a music venue, and we used to have these street festivals in the summer. And we had like outdoor, outdoor food and music and a stage set up and this and that. And I was like kind of like partially an MC of it, right? So they had me go on stage to introduce in front of like 1,000 people to introduce this band. But there was like 10 bands playing that day, and so right before I went up, they said, "Can you introduce one of the bands?" And I said, "Yeah." And someone said, "Introduce." Blah blah blah, and they told me the name of the band. I forget what it is now. So I was given misinformation, but I went on the stage and I introduced. They were all up there, ready to start playing right behind me. I'm like, "Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for blah blah blah," and it wasn't that band.
Oh God! Could they hear you through the monitors?
Oh yeah, I was. I mean, I was literally on the mic, like just pumping through the street. Like it was like I did like a big build up too. Like I tried to really give it, like do it for them. So I was like, "You guys having a good time? Yeah. How about who's ready to party? Yeah. You're gonna love this band, everybody. Blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Please give it up." Like I just say the wrong name, and then the whole crowd's like looking at me, and the band just like one of the guys is like, "Dude, that's not us." And I was like, "Oh,
what do you do?
God.
How do you come back? How do you get out of that?"
I literally the only thing to do is head on. I said on the mic, "Oh," I was like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "Someone told me that that was your name, and it's not my fault." I just like crawled out of it.
Oh, hey, good for you. Hey, that's good. That's good. You gotta find a way to bomb a few times on stage, and that's not exactly a bomb, but that's a mistake anybody could make.
Dude, that was bad. And then I got the flip side of that story where someone has called me the wrong name all night, and I didn't want to, I didn't want them to feel that feeling, so I just answered to the fake name the whole night.
Oh God, did you? How did it? Was there a resolution, or did you guys just leave with you being the wrong name?
No, I just never told them my real name ever.
Oh, I love it, man. At some point, that person definitely sees you on TV and knows, and they're gonna put it together at some point in their life if they haven't already.
Yeah, I've been called Al. I've been called Sam. And I don't correct it, and I also try not to laugh. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the best is if probably it's like you with a couple people, like you're not really just acquaintances, and a dude's calling you the wrong name, and you're like, all right, whatever, I'm just gonna go with this the rest of the night. And then say some of your like close buddies walk in, and they keep hearing this guy calling you Bill or something, and you keep responding to him. I would love to see how both sides react when they tell this guy that that's not your name, and then this guy gets pissed at you for not letting him know that that's not your name. Oh, it's just a great dynamic. I would love to be a part of. Maybe you could work that into your show at some point.
I feel we actually did. We had Q calling me Al. We did something like it. I feel like this. I feel like this was a Seinfeld episode too, but I can't remember.
Really? Well, see, that's. Do you guys? Well, you said you have writers now that are there, and they have like the Bible for your show, and they know what you've done and everything. Like, is it hard to not keep coming up with like similar bits to things you've done in the past?
Yeah, so depending on how strong we think something is, if it is inspired by something else or kind of close to it, but we know it'll be funny, we'll go ahead with it just because we have to shoot so much that we can't just act every little thing just because of that reason. But for the most part, we'll be like we'll say something like, you know, it's too similar to this, or we did it already and that version was better, or we'll take it and be like, well, how do we make this better? And then we'll we'll tweak it and try to add stuff to it. But yeah, that goes through a lot. I mean, especially if anyone new comes on board, there's a big learning curve because we're steeped in 4 seasons of shorthand and being able to be like, no, this is like this bit and this bit. I mean, it really is like almost like a language. But yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. We'll do like if something really hits and the public likes it, we'll usually do it anywhere between over the seasons. We'll do it 2 or 3 times. If it's something that people really like. Like a lot of times, like we do the easiest way to explain our show is what you said earlier, which is where we wear an earpiece and we have to tell each other what to do, and you can't say no, and if you do, you lose, and then if you lose, you get punished. That's definitely the way that, like, when we're on doing press and on talk shows and articles, it gets explained because it is like I think probably one of the highlights of the show. I remember like the first time I ever saw anyone do it was like 20 something years ago. It's the first time I personally saw was with Letterman, and he used to put an earpiece in the deli owner outside of the Letterman theater. His name is Rupert G, and he used to put. This guy's really funny, like an Asian dude. He had like a really funny, like sounding voice. I think he's still probably on the show. He's literally works the deli, owns the deli next to Dave's studio. And when Dave first started in New York, he would go and he would make a lot of like people in the neighborhood like characters on the show. And that's the first time I saw it. It was so hysterical. And when we pitched our show to the network, that wasn't even part of it. It was actually like we actually just had these like difficult things to do, but we knew what they were already, and we all had to try the same exact thing. And then when they picked it up, we started tweaking the show and figuring out how we would score the show, and then we're like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we had to do this? And that all came in during the development of it. But like other bits that we do, like one of the things we've been doing recently, which is like really ridiculous, is instead of like pickpocketing, we call it put pocketing. So like we'll have to like try and get things in people's pockets, as many as we can, without them noticing, like things like that. Or, we'll do other different things too. Like we'll do like, we're all in a focus group, and one of the guys is the moderator of the focus group, and we're one of the people in the focus group, but the rest of the people don't know that. And then we have to read the questionnaire and read what our answers were, but we haven't seen the answers because the other guys wrote them. So we like tweak that format a lot. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Like I feel like that you've had to give. You'll have different guys have to like go give a presentation to a class or teach something, and you don't know your. I don't know. You guys wrote their speech form, or you wrote the presentation, and you put up. I forget the video, the one where you guys were standing back there, and you put up. I think it was Murray was teaching a class, and you guys were put up the pictures of him, and it was like I think it was pictures of you guys. I don't know. I'm butchering it, but I'm sure you'll know. Like of you on one of their couches or something naked or something, or putting stuff in the couch. I think while he was teaching. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, the one you're talking about was
that was your couch, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You see, you guys have so many shows, man. It's so hard. Even I'm getting them mixed up right now, just thinking of a couple. But yeah, where you're in front of a group. And then part of your deal is you're trying to hold it together when you see someone is laying on your couch naked.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I actually went on vacation, and the guys got the key to my house from my mom, and they came in and they rolled around on my couch naked. They put their fingers in all my food in my fridge, and they put cats in my bed, and I can't stand cats. And then I lost, so I was giving a presentation to people on how to reduce stress. and I don't see the presentation before I go out there. So I'm going along, and it seems regular at first. I know something's going to happen. Usually, it's just like embarrassing words and stuff. But in this particular case, it had video of them in the middle of it. But now the people watching me in the room, they don't know that's my house. So I kind of had to hold it in. But
yeah, they'll cut back to the guys in the back or whatever on the mic, and they're like, "Oh, that's Sal's couch," and then all of a sudden, Joe, boom, takes a blanket off, and he's naked rolling around your couch.
Yes, exactly.
And you got to find a way to hold it together in front of this class.
Yeah, it's the punishments are getting worse and worse. Like last season, they had me crash a wedding and get up in the beginning, grab the mic, and give a speech.
Oh, I saw that one. I think I saw that one this morning with my daughter. We loved it.
Yeah, that was. I felt like sick and like that. My stomach felt sick for that one too, because I don't know exactly what the I don't know how we set it up, and I don't know who doesn't know and who does, and who's going to come at me and try and choke me because of it. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, I guess. Have you ever had to deal with any physical anyone coming after one of you guys, and you actually do you have to have somebody now at least this far into the show standing off camera ready or at some point, right, that could protect you if someone really does get mad?
Yeah, normally doesn't come to that because we're really not mean to people per se. A lot of times we'll get a look of confusion out of people and stuff like that, which is really gold. But we really go after each other. So there's not too many times. I mean, if we've come across, I'm probably not even exaggerating, at least 10,000 people in making the show these last 4 years. And, I'd say less than a handful of people have gotten where they were angry with us in that capacity. We have one big dude. His name is Maurice. Like he stands close by, but he's never really had to do anything all that much. The main reason we didn't think that we would need anyone in the beginning, but the insurance people said that the insurance is lower if there is a bodyguard on hand. So we originally got a bodyguard because it would just help the budget of the show. But then, of course, we would never do it without one now. But, yeah. So
you would have to now. So the show being so popular and you guys as fans are diehard. Like that's one of the things too about these new forms of media. And there's I want to ask you after this about how it's just inundated with content, the internet now, and there's so many ways to get your stuff out, how that's kind of changed what you guys do or how made it more difficult. But how is it now though don't you guys go into these certain situations where you're getting recognized right off the bat, and has that ever ruined like a whole day of shooting?
It hasn't ruined a whole day. It almost has. A few times.
Or a whole location, I would imagine. Once you're like made, it's like, oh, we got to get out of here now. We can't film anything.
Yeah, like if we're filming at like a restaurant, and right in the beginning it wasn't like that, but now it is. So like one of the reasons we film, we vet the places and we have people go scout the locations first is because we need a high traffic area and that's a lot of the reason why New York is the perfect place. But if 5 people recognize us in a row, we need the next 20 to not recognize us. So we need that many people to get through it. We usually could tell right away if someone recognizes us. A lot of times we're looking at them on a hidden camera before they even know it. And we see them recognize us. And one of two things happens. One of a few things. They'll either quietly be like, I'm a huge fan of your show, and we'll say thank you, and they'll walk away. Or they'll be like, Sal! And then it's like, oh no. And then like we'll have people run to them and go and be like, we're filming right now, please. And then like, oh shit, sorry, But, if people see when they do that, it calls more attention too. Or they'll see us and be like, oh my God, I have to try not to freak out and act like I don't know who they are so that we can get on the show.
That's exactly what I was thinking, that people are going to try. You'll have some dude that, he's taking acting classes on weekends and he's 48 years old and he's waiting for his big shot and he thinks this is it and he can like get into one of your bits and all of a sudden be a big personality and boom, he thinks he made it. Like, do you guys come across that now?
Well, I don't know. That I don't know because like, if someone would think that just by being, just walking by on camera.
Well, now, like, think about, like, like Kim Kardashian, she wasn't big. She was Paris's buddy, and then she makes a sex tape, and she's got couple $100 million and married to Kanye, which I guess has no correlation to my question that I asked you in your show at all.
I mean, I guess we should just make sex tapes. I don't know.
Well, of course, that's the guaranteed way for people that are semi famous to hit it big. But I guess, I mean, like, yeah, they want just people that want to be on the show. You know, everybody wants to be on TV. So I'm sure I bet you guys can recognize that a mile away, though.
We get it. It's mostly we do get it, and we probably get it every day. But not to the detriment where it ruins the day. But mostly it's just a fan, and they would love to be on the show. Like, you know what I mean? And that's it. But they can't really hide it. Like, either we see it before they even know, and they walk up to us, and we'll literally, because we have the guys in our ear. So we have all of our crew. You know, they get there hours early. People, I don't think people may not have an exact like concept of how intricate it is to make the show. Because, like, we'll think of an idea, and then we'll say, that's a good idea, and then we get it approved. And then after it's approved, we're like, where could the location be? And then we pick 1 or 2 locations, and then we have a team of people go look at those locations to make sure, like I said, there's a lot of people, there's places to hide cameras, and then also the location, if it's not just outside, if it's a business, they have to convince them to let us be there. Then that gets approved, okay? And then we plug it into a date that's like, say, 2 to 3 weeks ahead. And then now that has to be written for. And then, you know, then we show up, and that day, the tech crew shows up probably 6 hours before us. A lot of times it has to be before a business opens, all that stuff. So they get there real early, and they literally start building furniture and drilling holes and hiding all these cameras and stuff like that. And so then when we're filming, it's not just the 3 of us watching, but it's all of our cameramen controlling those mobile cameras, which is like sometimes 4, 5, 10 cameras. And, you know, so we have a lot of eyes out there. And so we'll see someone that recognizes right away. And a lot of times when they come up and they try to act like they don't, we'll just be like, I know you know the show. Keep moving, pal. Like, you know, we'll joke with them or whatever, you know.
Yeah, beat it, buddy. We know. We can see you. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get more of that as you go, just because of how popular the show is. But are they when your crew goes in there and has to mount all these? I can't imagine. It's just so much work that people take for granted and don't see all that you just mentioned right there. So if you're right, if you go to a location and you just don't really get anything, that's a big deal, man. Like that's like months in the making. So that is just down the drain. If someone, for some reason, like a whole location would get messed up. But are they mounting mics too, like throughout the restaurant or wherever you guys are? So you can pick up the other people's mics? Because I would imagine the mic that you guys have hidden on your body or whatever can't be good enough to pick up who you're messing with, is it?
Yeah, no. So we have a mic for us. Then we have a second mic on us for the person. And then a lot of times we'll like be holding a coffee cup or something that has a mic in there in case. And then a lot of times, you know, they'll mic up the areas all around the place, especially if it's indoors. And so we have mics at different places. And so a lot goes into it. And we do things that we know we have to do. Like when we're talking to someone, we have to square up to them to make sure our mic is getting their mic. So there's like other things going on in our head. And, you know, we also, like I said, like we're playing it real. It's a challenge because we have to play it real. And the number one rule for us is to be in the moment. Because we also love when the show, I think the show takes on, it takes on a whole new like thing that's like, you can't achieve if things are staged. Like I love to stay in the moment because if there's someone that like is a really good, we call them marks. Like if basically someone in the public comes and they're like a real good character or whatever it is, instead of like looking to tell them to do something that I might have written, I like to take inspiration from what's going on in that very moment, whether it's something that they just said and I want to answer it earnestly, or whether I want to comment on that person or what they're wearing or anything like that at all. We really like to be fluid and stay in the moment in those situations. And I feel like when those click, it becomes a whole new thing because you can't fake spontaneity. So we have to stay present, but then in the back of our minds, we also know what we need, how much time is left. We don't want to get like, five 40-year-old males either. We want to vary it up. So we're looking for people that we think will be good, and then we're also looking at the scope of it. So if like I went third, we look at what the jokes were for the first two to make sure that like the jokes aren't redundant when I go. So we're also like screening the jokes as we go along. We have someone sitting there writing everything down, almost like a court stenographer. And then when I'm about to go, I'll be like, review Joe's turn for me, or do that, and we'll like look at it and we'll be like, all right, guys, you went a little bit heavy on like religion jokes, no more of those. Or all right, Joe did something very physical, so let's try and do the opposite of that, so we have a good balance when the whole thing's. So there's all these extra things going on. And then even with us, we edit it too. We have a whole team of editors and great point people, but we give notes on everything, and it all gets vetted. It goes through us. So we're also concerned about like a lot of times the angle that you film something can add to the comedy of it. Like if if you frame a shot a certain way, but you walk in front of it and Joe's ass is on it, or like it's just kind of locked off and we're jumping around dudes, that really helps too. So a lot of times, even though we're in the moment, we'll say, make sure this camera's here like this, and then they'll do it. You know what I mean? So we're really thinking of a lot of things when we're out there. But if we're in a place like a park or a stadium or just anything like that where there's tons of people, or a really busy restaurant or whatever it is, that's fine. But sometimes we teach classes or we do one-on-ones or things like that. And for those days, we have to book people to be there or hope people show up. And so sometimes, we each go once or each go twice, and we only have 2 turns and 2 people to get something good enough to show on television. And on those days, if someone recognizes us, like we've had days like that where half the people recognize us, so we literally can only do it with 4 people, and there's 4 of us, so it was like do or die.
So this is it. Don't mess it up. One take, basically.
One take. And then when you go out and that going in, it's a little bit pressure filled, because also to mobilize that many people in a crew, shoot days are very expensive. So you want to make sure you get something back in, but like it is pretty good, because we'll film for about 5 hours, give or take, stopping down and switching out and this and that. It takes about 5 hours. Maybe all told, it's maybe 3 hours of footage, and we usually have to cut that down to anywhere between like 5 and 7 minutes. So that's it is a decent formula for like still being able to get good stuff. But a lot of times what people don't see is that like especially with the punishments, because the punishments can only last so long, but a lot of times the punishment is in reality, and to make it funny, it needs to be a very long time. So recently, like they locked me in an elevator, like I didn't know, and I was going into work, and I thought I was going up to this certain floor, and we were going to film there that day, and that's what everyone led me to believe. This is the first time we ever did anything like this.
I watched this one this morning, no joke, with the little hairless cat that came out too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just thought I was going. I didn't know I was on camera yet. We never did that before. And then the elevator got stuck. I learned later on what it took to make this happen, and it was like an Ocean's 11 mission to do this, like to get the building and to get a guy to rig the elevator and to get all the actors there was actors walking next to me when I was 2 blocks away, walking to the location from the subway already. Like they had it was like a spy thing. They're like, he's out of the subway, and then so I wouldn't think it's suspicious that this person just jumped on. You know what I mean? So it was like really crazy. And then I was in the elevator for like 30 to 40 minutes. So like when you watch on TV, like I felt like when I watched the TV version, it seemed like I lost my cool pretty quickly, but I didn't in reality. But like, the frustration on TV was like get to like 20, 30 minutes, you know what I mean? So like it's good, but also like sometimes people don't even realize how bad it was, you know what I mean?
There's so much work that goes into it, like that we don't see. And I say that a lot when I'll talk to like a broadcaster on here. Like I had Joe Buck, and people think like, oh, he just goes. What do you mean? It's a great job. You go to the game and he just kind of talks about what's going on. I'm like, no. And I remember he held up like his big card he has like the three deep from every position on the field. He has to know everybody's name. He has to be able to pronounce everything perfectly. And if he makes one mistake, the whole world is going to kill him. And then people don't see like all the time that goes into things like that. And basically all that you just described, it's unreal to think how much is riding on each little bit you do. And so I'm sure when you have one take, like you said, to say some people recognized you and you know this is it, we got to make this one work. And it puts so much pressure on you. And it was cool to hear you said like your first rule is to stay in the moment. So it's like you have all this stuff going in your head, like you were explaining, square up to the guys so we pick up their audio, hopefully get a good angle, and all this stuff's going through your mind, and at the same time you got to stay in the moment and make it genuine and make it real, and all your interaction has to like, how would this be if we weren't filming? So that's I was joking about it, like art, man. That is art right there when you think about it, how much you guys have going through your head, and then to basically just put it all away and rely on your instincts really to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it is fun as well. It's very fun as well. You know, like a lot of times when the first laugh comes out of the way, or you're talking to someone that's getting funnier and funnier, you know, you kind of like let everything go and you kind of do forget about that. And also we have. And I don't say this lightly. I always hear people say, like, especially like when you watch these like award shows or you watch these talk shows and people say like, I work with the best crew and this and that and everyone, and I'm sure because there's so many good people out there, but we have a crew that is the best, and they do everything so well, and their job is to make it so that like we can just do our thing as easy as possible, and they do, and they put in long hours, and they really care and love the show. They care about the show, and they really make us look good. And like I always like to talk about them because we're the only four highlighted on the show really, but. I like to give people insight as to how hard our team works to make us look good, and we have to count on them like with all these variables. It's like you said, like cameras go down, cameras break, or the audio, or wind, or sirens. Filming in New York is like crazy, or even our like prop department. Like we get heavy with props sometimes, and we'll call them up like at like 8 o'clock the night before and be like, we need a bicycle with wings, or just some ridiculous request. I remember one time it was like, we need a goat, by tomorrow, or we need you to build us like a life-size, coffin, but that we wear like for fashion. And we're trying to explain to them creatively these ideas that we're making up. Like we do this one where we have to pitch products to people that are ridiculous products. And so we make them up. And so like we'll give him a list of like 30 fake products to make, and him and her, Will and Christine are their names, and they'll go and they have to run all over Manhattan getting the raw materials or making weird phone calls, and because you got to find out who the hell has a goat, or how do you make like. We did this one thing where it was like a chapstick. It was a chapstick applicator. You put it on your head, but it looked like it was literally bigger than our own bodies, and it was like the most convoluted thing to put on a chapstick. That was like the whole point. Yeah. It was like, and he had to make this thing from scratch. I don't know how they do it, but and those things go a long way. That's a visual joke. We need it to be funny. We need it to be what our vision was. And these people work under pressure. Like when I tell you that we're under pressure at times, just to make sure we get the bid in, like everyone shares that pressure. So, you try not to like, sometimes, Pete, one of our executive producers, will come to us and be like, guys, we have 10 minutes to get this and the day's up, and like, so everyone's like really like laser focused and stuff. And it's great. I mean, in the end, every day, and this is what I love about the show too, is everybody on the staff and the crew, they laugh with us. So like our set is much like how, the tone trickles down. And so, when we played golf that day and you said that, like, you noticed that Joe and I would just like, we're like that with everybody. So, it's professional and people get their work done. But if every last person, sometimes we have a crew of 30 to 40, I guarantee you, every shooting day, every last person has like a handful of belly laughs. You know what I mean? So
That they
it's good.
should. I mean, you're doing a comedy show. You're not making Schindler's List. I hope you're having fun.
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to make the crew laugh. When the crew laughs,
True.
that's
Yeah. I guess because the crew has seen everything basically.
yeah, yeah. But when I get them to laugh, that's my favorite part. And every day, like my goal is, I just want to crack them up.
I've heard another comedian say that. I think somewhere probably on a podcast I was listening to that. Yeah, like they know when they can, if they could get like a cameraman or like the guy holding the boom mic, if they can get one of them to like crack a smile, it goes like a million miles and feels so much better than getting anybody else to laugh, because they said these guys, a lot of these guys are like 30-year union guys that have seen everything in the world, and if you can make them laugh, you can, your job is done basically.
Yeah, it's true, and because they also they're not really receiving the comedy like a viewer would on TV. Like they're focusing on their job, so it kind of like takes away a little something. So if you can permeate that and like and you shake them up, it's great. It's great.
That I'm going to start to wind it down here and let you roll. I know you have a great podcast yourself called What Say You, that I've listened to many times, and you're right now you're on a sweet like Fast and Furious kick for some reason. Are you just love that movie or what? Or Seven Fast, Seven Furious, whichever one's coming out right now, I think.
Yeah, so on our podcast, it's Q and Q from the show, and we just are like kind of almost like what we did with Impractical Jokers. It's like we have these conversations all day long, and it's always like, what say you about this? What say you about that? So we're like, let's just turn it on and we'll BS and we'll see if people like it. And we do everything from just having normal conversations about our lives, things that are in the news, but we also do like reenactments of shit. We get creative and stuff. And I don't remember how it came up, but the seed was planted to watch the Fast and Furious movie and then talk about it, because like there's a lot of like it's fun because it's like it can be absurd. So we're like, let's just celebrate it. So we were gonna do it, and then well, like we should do every one and then go with all of our listeners to see the next one. And we do trips like that, like every few months. Like we took all of our listeners to see Gallagher, the comedian Gallagher.
Oh yeah, Smash
Yeah,
the watermelons.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we'll do like things where we'll hold like contests or just tell our listeners where we're going to be, and then we go hang out with them and stuff. And one of our listeners happened to work at Universal Pictures, and he was like, "I can set up a private screening just for your listeners before the movie even comes out of Fast and Furious 7. And we're like, you would do, and we're like, oh my God, absolutely. So that is actually tonight. That's tonight. So what we did was we did a marathon of the other 6 because we hadn't seen them. And so the last 6 episodes, we watch the movie and then we comment on it, and we ask everyone to watch along with us. So you could take it or leave it. Some people like didn't want to do it, but it's still fun. We talk about other things too. So we just finished all 6, and now tonight we are going to tonight being Tuesday. I don't know when this goes up, but tonight.
Days, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So tonight we're going to this movie theater, and we're gonna watch the film with everyone, and it really is crazy, dude, because our fans, like, they don't actually receive us as necessarily stand-up comics or actors. They just perceive us as people they want to hang out with, people that they definitely already know. And since there's 4 of us, we're like, our live shows have this weird, like, almost like boy band dynamic, like middle-aged boy band. But like people come to it like a rock show. Like they come dressed as us. They come with everyone's wearing T-shirts they made. They hold up huge signs, like almost like wrestling. They have chants. They chant all of our lines from the show before we even come out. You hear the theater like rumbling. It's I've never seen anything like it. I can't believe I get to experience it. I mean, you know what it's like times a billion, but like it's not like basically a normal comedy show. And so like tonight, we're encouraging everyone to like wear costumes and yell at the screen and all this stuff. It's going to be insane. And then what we did was afterward, we booked a live podcast. So we're going to go to Gotham Comedy Club right after we're going to take the whole audience like Andy Kaufman used to do. We're going to walk over and we're going to do a live podcast tonight right after it about Fast and Furious 7. And then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled stuff, you know.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it makes, like you said, people, all your fans feel like they know you. They feel like they're already friends with you just because of how you guys come across. You know, you're real and authentic and just fun to watch. But that in the radio game, I'm going to use that as what they call a segue. Sal, you're a professional, you know. You said something to me when we were in Vegas. I remember, and it was so like it was. It's crazy to me that guys like you that are so talented think like. I remember you saying something about, you know, I'm just waiting for it to end. You know, I have like anxiety that all this is going to come to a screeching halt one day. And is that something that is on your mind, that you think like, man, this is so great. How much longer can it go? And is that what, like, I feel like that's like what drives actors, but especially comedians, for some reason it seems like they always, is that necessary to have that almost like fear of this ending to continue to be creative? At
the very end you broke up. What was the question?
That's good. I broke up. It was a terribly worded question. I mean, like, is it necessary to have that kind of like this anxiety or this fear of this great thing ending, and like you're always thinking of like the worst that could happen to be able to have that, like, that drive to be creative, to keep coming up with new bits, to keep coming up with new ideas for their show and new stand-up then for your live show and all that? Like, do you have to have that in your brain, you think, to to continue like on the crazy path that you're on right now?
Yeah, I think that everyone's process is probably different. I have exactly what you just described, and for better or for worse. I mean, sometimes it's tough to be that, like, you know, anxiety, riddled and neurotic and stuff. But it definitely helps motivate me and drive me. And I think that for the most part, the guys share that with me. You know, it's just that, like you said before. I mean, like, it's with the internet, everyone can put their stuff up there to see, and so it gives everyone a shot, and it also saturates everything, and so with one respect, where it gives everyone a chance for anyone to see what they do between uploading these things and Twitter and things going viral, like it gives everyone a chance, but then it also kind of like, it's difficult because so many people are out there, and there are people working just, harder than you always. There's always someone working harder than you, that wants to achieve or be where you are. And I have that feeling that if I'm not completely busting my ass, someone else will just take my spot, and that there are people, I feel guilty too when I almost have to give myself permission sometimes to stop working, because I just feel like, if I don't do as much as I can, like, there's someone else out there, like, behind me that is more deserving of it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just like, I always feel like, people are like, first of all, they think if you're on TV, you're rich, which isn't the case per se.
100%. And I'm actually guilty myself. The more I've gotten to talk to guys and see things, yeah. But you're right. If you see someone on TV, like even in a commercial, like, oh, that dude's got 2 Bentleys and a mansion.
Right, exactly. And the first 2 years, the first 2 seasons of our show, we all had our regular jobs, like, and because we didn't know how far the show would go. And
so were you bartending? Were you being a bartender at that time?
Yes, and it took a big leap of faith to leave your quote unquote normal jobs that you've had for life, But
I said, were you bartending? Dynamite grammar in English, yeah. You tending bar?
No, yes, I was for the first 2 seasons, and then the show would come on, and the weird thing was I bartended on Thursday nights when the show was on, and like friends and people that heard that I was there, they'd start coming in and they'd want to put it on, and so I'd be like bartending with the show on behind me on the TVs, and after like 6 weeks of that, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it because it was just so awkward, but. for the first like year and a half to 2 years, I would go to film at like 9 a.m. and then we'd finish at like 5 p.m. and I would drive right to the bar for 7 p.m. and I work till 4 a.m. and then get home like 5 a.m. and then sleep 4 hours, and I was doing that about 4 days a week for about a year and a half. And I eventually had to stop. I couldn't keep up with it, and it was good that I stopped. It was ready to switch over, but it's just that whole thing where it's like I don't know where my next. I need to keep making steady money. What if the show goes away? I don't want to give up my spot and this and that. And it's just like you always want. Even now, like I said, like the show's on, but the show's going to end. And it's going to end at the height of its hopefully the popularity, and then we have to find other projects, and I don't know if that'll be right away or if at all ever, and that weighs on my mind. So you work as hard as you can, you save as much money as you can, because for a person in entertainment, you're going to have downtime where you're trying to find out what the next thing for you is, and you have to live off nothing basically. So for me, I don't see it as such a secure field to be in, but it does help us because like the guys and I are always writing and thinking of new shows and concepts and other things, and we pitch those, and we develop other shows too. People don't know that, but we do that on the side. So we're always doing stuff. We signed it to write a book and stuff like that, and we put it on hold for now because we're too busy. But so yeah, we're really trying to. You got to always be thinking. Man. You got to always be thinking about something.
I almost feel like for what in the business you're in, it's like that might be the only way there is to continue. Like I don't know, I don't know how to describe it, but I remember hearing. I was watching a documentary thing on Russell Peters, the comedian, selling out stadiums, selling out O2 Arena like 2 nights in a row, like all these arena shows and stuff, just killing it. And he even said on there, he was saying how to stay motivated, he bought like a $4 million house that he already owned a few, and he bought this house and had this huge mortgage, and he said his accountant was like, I don't think you should do this, Russell. And Russell's like, yeah, right, I'm doing it, because that was like his motivation to write new jokes and to get back on the road and go work the clubs to try to get a new hour and hone his act, because he's saying if he doesn't have that, he doesn't know exactly how he's going to pay his mortgage. He's like, I'm not dying, I'm fine, but when I have that on my mind, knowing I have this huge monthly payment for this new house, that like gave him motivation to go out there and be more creative and actually work.
Oh, absolutely. I could see that 100%. Yeah.
There's a boxer. I don't know if it was Sugar Ray Leonard, whoever. He said, I don't know which boxer it was, but he said it's hard to get up and train when you wake up in silk sheets. I guess like once he made it, and he wasn't fighting and scrapping to get out of like wherever his bad neighborhood or to get his mama house or to do whatever. It was like, okay, well now I basically made it. How do I continue? How do I have that fire inside of me still? And that seems like a lot of people are fall victim to that for sure. I think it's a safe bet to say, Sal, you're not going to fall victim to that. Just on how your mind, how you're driven, how your mind works, it seems like you have all this great info inside you and all this great comedy, and you just got to get it out somehow. And if not, you're gonna explode if you don't get it on there and act it out and get it on camera, get it on paper, however it may be.
Yeah, man. I thank you for that. I mean, I definitely always wanted to create, like, be creative, and I wanted to do comedy in any capacity for a living, and I can't believe I am. But I my whole life before we did this, I did comedy for no money, obviously, and I know that I would do it for no money if this all went away for my whole life. It's the only thing that I really love, you know what I mean? So I'm just very fortunate. I mean, and you know that. I mean, it's the same thing. You're in such a competitive field, and you have to stay. You have to stay healthy, and you have to train, and you have to. It's the same exact thing. This guy's gunning for your job all the time, and I'm sure. I don't know if when you were younger, did you always feel inside you that there would be a really good shot that you would be in the actually make it into the NFL, and then to be like so successful in the NFL. I mean, you could probably speak to that more than anyone. I mean, I mean, every comedian they say wants to be a rock star, or like, everybody wants to be a star athlete. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
Yeah, and every athlete wants to be like the lead singer in a band and all that. Yeah, it's like everyone wants to. They always think the grass is greener, and it's a different thing. But when it comes down to it, it's like a theme I talk about on here. It seems like no matter what your job is, what your profession, whatever is going on, everyone seems to have the same like roadblocks, the same issues, and everyone. It's like we're all dealing with the same things. Just everyone's in a different field. Like you said, you have all these kids and people that can just flood the internet with all this content. And yeah, it's good because anyone can be discovered, but at the same time, there's a ton of garbage out there.
right,
It's
right.
hard to sift through, so it's even harder to get noticed, I think, because you have to be able to sift through that garbage to find what you guys have made and that great stuff. And you guys have it. I think what's cool to see is that you're not people think that like people are just no one's really an overnight success, and you guys are definitely not. Like you said, you started what? Didn't you start the Tenderloins like in 1999?
Yeah, 99.
Yeah, so think about that. You guys are just working forever, and it's just hilarious to hear, and it's awesome to hear that you guys all had you guys have your normal day jobs the first 2 seasons of the show. And so to see that, like people, I think it's good. I like to just like let people know how hard people work and how much goes into all this stuff. And everyone just sees the champagne and roses and sees you on TV and at award shows and sees how funny you guys are. And you've done a good job at least of explaining how much goes into it. And we haven't even scratched the surface of all the work that you do put in. It's your life, that's what you're doing at all times. So I commend you for that, man. It's great to hear how serious you take the art of comedy, which is funny that's how it has to work. But that for all the great ones like you guys are, man, you guys have to be dead serious about your work, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. You're too nice, buddy.
Hey,
Thank you for
no,
the kind
I
words.
respect what you I'm gonna let you roll here, man. But I respect a lot of how you are, and like I said, it was fun to play golf with you out in Vegas. I had a great time with you. Got to see your Jaden Smith tattoo, which we didn't even get into. I didn't want to have to. I'm sure you get sick of talking about it, but you got an awesome Jaden Smith tattoo on your on your leg, upper leg, and if anyone doesn't know the story, go find the clip, watch the show, find it. But you got one of your punishments was a great. You had a very good guy do the artwork too. I told you that in Vegas as well. It's a very good, very detailed Jaden Smith face on your leg.
Yes, that gentleman's name. Give him a little shout out. His name. He goes by the name Needles, so he's good.
Shocking that's his name.
Yeah, and he's out of New York City. But yeah, I'm glad that you vouched for me that was real too, because a lot of times people they just don't think it's real, but it's real, and you've seen it firsthand.
Oh yeah, and I was trying to tell you, like, there's so many different ways that the tattoo will only even get better. Like, say he hits it big, and boom, he's Will Smith's son, and he becomes Will Smith #2. Well, great, yeah, you got Jaden Smith's tattoo, face on your leg, and then if he just, kind of, even if he peters out and doesn't even follow into, acting and rapping, whatever he's doing now, and he's just Will Smith's son, I think the tattoo's even better then.
Right.
It's like. Yeah, I don't know. It's just awesome, man.
Guys, yeah, I just have to accept it at this point. I mean, a lot of people say you're going to get it removed. I'm not going to, because I think it represents, a point in my life on the show and what we stand for and the lengths that we go to and stuff like that. But we always joke about like, I'm going to have that like when I'm 80. And like that'll be real weird then. And then Q always tells me that by that point it'll look like Morgan Freeman.
That's awesome. That's a good, yeah. Oh, just so many awesome situations that you'll get into that you'll forget I'm sure you already forget you have it. You're like, oh, geez, never mind. Yeah, just long story. You haven't seen the show, don't worry. But yeah, if nothing else, it shows the dedication you have to your art and what you do, man. So I commend you once again. But also because I like what's your people can follow you on Twitter and everything. What's your you're just Sal Vulcano on there, but Volcano.
You got the last one,
Volcano. But
yeah.
What is the name that we see on Twitter though when it's on there?
Oh yeah, so my name, the Twitter to find me is @Sal Vulcano, but the header, the name that I go by is JaCrispy, and that is because That came out of the show. One time, Joe called me JaCrispy on the show, or I told him someone mentioned that the name JaCrispy. I thought it was hysterical, and I asked the guys. I said, if I insisted you call me JaCrispy, would that make your life more annoying or better? And they were like, we're not calling you JaCrispy. It'll make it more annoying if you have to do that every time. And so I said, I'm not going to go, because it was my turn. I was like, I'm not going to go until all of you promise to call me JaCrispy. And so they did. And now that happened for real, like in the moment. And to this day, because my nickname, I have a couple of other nicknames, but to this day, Joe Gatto has called me nothing but JaCrispy.
Oh,
So
that's awesome, man.
yeah, it's been over a year, like, and so people call me JaCrispy now, which I think is such an absurd name.
Yes, it is, but it seems to fit you well. I feel like I think it suits you well. You do you wear it well. So people can find you there, and we're gonna be we'll be looking forward to the next season. I know that you guys are filming now or starting to film soon for to get you over 100 episodes, man. Just gonna keep going down the road, and we're excited. It's on truTV.
Yes.
Where people can find it. If you don't know how to press guide and find a channel, then don't turn the podcast off. I'm sorry, we don't need you as a listener.
I probably shouldn't be saying that to anyone, because it took me about 40 minutes to learn how to use Skype before we started.
The only reason I could use it is because this is my 20-something podcast I've done. But I finally kind of figured it out, and that's why we turned the video off about 40 minutes in, because it made our connection better. So no one's trying to act like they're professional here. But I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. You're an awesome dude, obviously very funny. Show Impractical Jokers is amazing. I'm sure you'll have many shows that are in the works at the time that you're pitching. You're always working. I respect that, man. But Sal, I really appreciate it, man. Hopefully we can talk again soon.
Thank you. Anytime, man. I was thrilled that you asked me. I was so happy to do it. I had a great time, man. And I like I said, the offer stands. Whenever, don't pass through New York without coming to hang, coming to see our show, coming on the set, all that stuff. And, coming on our podcast as well. Hopefully we get around to all that good stuff.
Yes, I would love to. And good luck with watching 7 Fast, 7 Furious tonight.
It's going to be crazy.
R.I.P. Paul Walker.
Yes, absolutely.
That
Yeah,
guy was the man. But you got plenty of other characters in the show now, in the movie that you can talk about tonight. But Sal, appreciate you, man. We will talk soon.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Thank you for joining in. Please visit HawkCast.com, where you can discover the next guest, get a little more information about why this exists, watch past episodes, or link over to iTunes. And tell some friends too, so we can all hear more great stories together.